The Twins are still winning, but it came at a heavy cost. Cory Provus gets the latest on what's going on with Minnesota. Plus, we have a Game 7 in the NBA. We know when the Wolves will play in the West Finals. Hot Mic begins now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to the Of Course It Happened edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra. KSFL, good morning in Sioux Falls, KNDN in Rapid City, and Inforum.com. May the 16th, a red letter date here in these walls here today inside WDAY. It's a big day. As many know, it's impossible to miss. Our guy, John Wheeler, his final day. Got a big day planned. You won't want to miss the news later tonight. His final newscast, 6 o'clock tonight. And we're having a little shindig for Wheel later, which is pretty darn cool. And I will say, if you missed our interview we did with Wheel, we did on Wednesday, you can check it out. You can go back, watch the full interview on WDAY Plus, Inforum.com. I got more reaction to that interview than anything we've done in a long time. I had people I hadn't heard from in a long time reach out and say they really enjoyed it. So that was awesome. That was exactly what I was hoping for. So if you missed that, it's available right now on WDAY Plus and Inforum.com. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Friday. You saw outside. It stinks after what we had Monday, Tuesday, and much of Wednesday. We have gone the complete opposite direction and going to be there for a little bit. We were disappointed we couldn't get the Bison game in last night. I believe we're going to do the first. They're supposed to play a doubleheader today. That's iffy as well. You just saw it outside. It didn't look great. North Dakota State and Omaha are set to play at 2 o'clock today for a straight-on doubleheader and then another game tomorrow. They got to get the games in because it's important for seeding in the Summit League race for the baseball championship. Oral Roberts is trying to chase down St. Thomas. It looks like St. Thomas is going to win the championship, but after that, ORU has basically a stranglehold on the 1 seed, and then after that, we already know who's in the tournament. Oral Roberts, SDSU, NDSU, and Omaha are going next week to the Summit League baseball tournament, which will be in Omaha next week. It's a matter of who's seated where to get there. ORU and the Jacks played a doubleheader yesterday to make up, and Oral Roberts won both of those games. So now they and St. Thomas are tied for the league championship right now at 19-9. St. Thomas plays Northern Colorado this weekend in Greeley, which is a launching pad. That notwithstanding, the point being on the Bison side of things, without even playing yesterday, they moved up a spot right now. So if the league tournament were to start today, ORU would actually be the 1, Omaha the 2, Bison 3, SDSU 4. Remember, St. Thomas is ineligible. So that's why they're going to do everything they can to play the games. I didn't go up to Newman yesterday. We got the word about 4:45 the game was off. But literally after they announced the game was off, it was fantastic out last night. It was windy, which would have made for an interesting game. But, I mean, we didn't get any precipitation in South Morehead. I don't know about anywhere else, but in the metro. But we could have played. I don't know how bad the field was. I don't have an answer on that. So they're going to try and play 2 today, starting at 2 o'clock at Newman Outdoor Field. We got a lot to get to today. A lot of football chatter here on a Football Friday. We do it all the time. In our second hour, we're going to be loaded with that. We're pretty pumped about our guest lineup coming up later in the show. We also now know, and we'll show you here in a minute, the NBA from last night. The Wolves will play Tuesday. And I'm here to tell you, after we can complain, certainly I did as an old man now, on the start times in the first 2 rounds because the Wolves are playing teams from California. I am here to tell you on this Friday morning that none of the Western Conference Finals games will start later than 7:30. That is a win in itself. Let's go. The series will actually begin on Tuesday night on ESPN. The Wolves will either be in Denver or OKC, and then it's every other day, by the way, too, because now the NBA has realized, well, okay, we've got to make up time because the finals start June 5th. That's a hard start date that we got to be done by then. So it's every other day, and we'll give you the lowdown on that here in just a minute. Let's start. We always talk Twins on Friday with Cory Provus, and it's a great time to be talking about the Twins because they haven't lost in nearly 2 weeks. Unfortunately, though, yesterday they did lose in a way that could be really damaging in the long term. Yesterday, they were wrapping up their series with Baltimore after sweeping a straight doubleheader on Wednesday. Chris Paddock was throwing yesterday. He was great his last time out. He took a perfect game into the 7th inning in his last start, and the Twins' bats came alive in a way where they needed to at the right spot yesterday. Started early. Deshaun Kersey Jr., who got the walk-off hit earlier in the week, here with a 2-run home run to start things in the top of the 3rd to get the Twins on the board. Next batter up is Byron Buxton, and Buck is going in a good way at the plate. That's hammered to left center, 401 feet. It's a 3-0 Minnesota lead. Everything, though, went haywire in the bottom of the 3rd with an innocuous pop-up from Cedric Mullins. Carlos Correa and Buxton converging on it, and they collide in a big way. And neither one got up. You can see here on the slow-motion replay. Watch there. Buxton's jaw hits Correa's left shoulder. Each of them went into concussion protocol. We'll have more on that here in a moment. Paddock was dealing. Here in the 5th with 2 on. Nasty pitch there to get a strikeout. Gets Mullins here with 2 on in the 5th. He struck out 2 batters, then gets this ground ball to get out of a jam as the Orioles put 2 on with nobody out. Duran came in with 2 runners on, and gets the final out of the game. And the Minnesota Twins have won 11 in a row. They beat the Orioles 4-0. The final score. Paddock goes 7 innings, allows 3 hits, no runs, and strikes out 3. How about Paddock? His last 2 starts have been brilliant. Varland and Duran worked the last 2 innings of the game. You saw the 2 big hits. The Twins got a Royce Lewis base hit later for some insurance run to make it a 4-0 score. But that's your final as Minnesota now improves to 4 games over. They're 24-20. Not that long ago, we were staring at 12 and 20, 13-20, right? And now, imagine this is the other way. I heard this. If they were, whatever, I got to do some quick math here. If they were 24-9 and had lost 11 in a row, we'd feel a heck of a lot different than how they started, right? To now where they started as poorly as they did, and now 4 games over 500 at 24-20 on the season. As you saw, though, it came at a price, and we're going to show you the replay again of what happened in the bottom of the 3rd with Cedric Mullins up at the plate. And again, it's an innocuous play, but I was always told the outfielder has priority here. Now, Correa, you can see, is trying to pull up, and Buxton either can't stop his momentum going forward. I mean, that is a heavy, heavy collision. I mean, you could tell immediately Chris Paddock's reaction there, teammates' reaction. I mean, these are the Twins' 2 superstars. Frankly, you can't argue that. and I'm playing doctor on television, which is always scary, the way Correa went down seemed like he took the brunt of it more than Buxton. And we already know Byron has had concussion issues in the past. Again, watch on the replay here. You can see the both go out, and then it's a violent collision. Maybe the more so that Correa just didn't. He's held up here, but Byron can't stop. And you see the jar there, each of their heads. That's the part that was scary. Each of them were placed into a concussion protocol. Buxton actually stayed in the game. He played the rest of the bottom of the third. Correa came right out of the game as soon as it happened. Buxton played the last couple outs. He made the catch, too, which is remarkable. He stayed in, but then left the game after the Twins got the final 2 outs of the bottom of the third. The 2 players, according to the Star Tribune, entered Major League Baseball's concussion protocol after they were removed and were unable to speak to reporters. Correa gingerly walked off the field after the collision, and Buxton finished the half inning in center field before he was removed. Players diagnosed with a concussion are placed on the 7-day concussion injured list. No determination was made on the 2 players, but Twins bench coach Jace Tingler said they'll continue to be evaluated Friday. That's today when the team begins the series at Milwaukee. Now, we mentioned this. Buxton has already dealt with concussions before, whether he got hit in the head with a pitch against the Yankees, I want to say. I know he got one in Cleveland, so he's already had this. That's the scary part. We talk all about it in football. When you get one, you're more susceptible to getting it again. Buxton's been down this road. That's the really scary part. I mean, you worry about the man's health considering how much he's been beat up his entire professional career, especially anything to do with the head. Correa has had his own injury issues, nothing in the head, neck area, but anytime you hear that word, it's a scary deal. So fingers crossed that they're all right. We have not heard anything yet as we see it here at 9:12 Friday morning. We'll talk with Cory here in about 20 minutes. I don't know much of an update he'll have as the Twins are set to play Milwaukee coming up later tonight. Speaking of which, open up a 3-game set with the Brewers. Pitching matchup tonight will look as follows. Joe Ryan, who's been Minnesota's ace so far this season. He's been really good. You see his mark of 3-2, ERA of under 3. He's been dynamite for Minnesota. He'll go tonight. It's rivalry weekend across Major League Baseball, which I'm going to save that for later in the show. Milwaukee will trot out. Chad Patrick will go for the Brewers, a mark of 2-3 with an ERA just north of 3. That's the opener tonight, just after 7 o'clock. I still call it Miller Park in Milwaukee. More on the Twins coming up later on in the show. I mentioned it earlier. We now know when the Wolves series will start, and it's Tuesday. And the reason why, Denver won last night at home against Oklahoma City. Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals, and I know we talked about this at the end of the regular season, that the Wolves ended up getting the 6th spot. That may have ended up being a blessing in disguise because Denver, who I know I said it, maybe you wanted to match up with the Nuggets in the first round because maybe the Wolves had beaten them all 4 times. Denver, since they fired their coach, has played amazingly well. And last night was another example of that because they knocked off top-seeded Oklahoma City. I think you had a feeling of this after how Game 5 played out, that the Nuggets, if they got another game at home, were going to be tough to beat. SGA was clutch as always. Christian Brown, it's a big 3 to tie the game up for Denver. Nuggets are up 3. SGA drives here, misses, get denied there, and in transition, Jamal Murray on the other end. Nuggets are up by 5. Denver got an all-time performance from Julian Strawther. Who? Julian Strawther was unstoppable He had 3 threes in the second half. The Thunder couldn't stop him. He played 20 minutes and he scored 15 points. Jokic knocks down a 3. That put Denver up by 12 with 6 minutes to go. That flow, I mean, come on. He's the ugliest basketball player to watch, and he's so good. Look at that pass underneath to Christian Brown. Little no look. Jokic, by the way, for his trouble last night, 29 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. Denver wins it 119 to 107 to force a Game 7, which will be on WDAY on Sunday. So here's the updated bracket. We know the Wolves are there. That series will begin Tuesday. We don't know where yet. Oklahoma City and Denver will play a Game 7 in OKC Sunday, 2:30 on WDAY. That'll be dynamite. Can't wait. And the Wolves were in this position last year because you remember they got pushed to a Game 7, played that Sunday night game with Denver, won it, and then they were out of gas. They just were. They were out of gas for the West Finals with Dallas. Now they're in the opposite spot. They're sitting there waiting, knowing these two teams are going to battle it out. And I don't know if they're going to be out of gas, but man, Denver, this is the second straight 7-game series for the Nuggets, right? That takes a toll. And they're not playing a ton of guys. They're playing 8 guys. Granted, one of their 8 guys is the best player in the world, but that's a lot. Meanwhile, the Thunder are the deepest team in the NBA, but they're young. We talked about it yesterday. Playing Jokic in a 1-game deal, that's a scary proposition. So that comes up on Sunday. In the East, tonight, Game 6 between the Knicks and the Celtics in New York. Boston already won 1 elimination game. If they win tonight, I'm going to tell you right now, it will be unbearable for anybody to watch ESPN for the next couple days because they're going to be all over on the Knicks choking here because the Game 7 of that would be on Monday. We'll see tonight if New York can clinch. That's at 7 o'clock on ESPN coming up later tonight. We got a packed show coming up for you here on this Friday morning. Looking forward to our guest lineup today, which is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Cory Provus will join us each and every Friday, 9:35. We'll chat everything on the Twins. As we'll get an update, we'll see what he has on Correa and Buxton and opening up this series with the Brew Crew, going for a 12th straight win. At 10 o'clock, you'll meet Antoine Booth, new cornerback for the Bison football team that transfers in from James Madison. He announced yesterday that he'll be joining the Bison for 2025. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, QB1 will join us. Cole Payton on wrapping up his 4th year with the Bison football program and getting ready to take over the reins as the starting quarterback at North Dakota State. That's coming up at 10:35. Nice way to end our week to talk with the quarterback getting ready for the 2-week break they have. Finals wrapping up today. The team disperses. They get 2 weeks off. They got to be back late May, early June, and then it's go time for summer workouts and on to get ready for fall camp. Interesting note about that, which if we have time, we'll share later on in the show about what the powers that be that run college football, namely former Bison head coach Craig Bohl, want to shape the offseason, want to change it up and make it more NFL OTA style. If we have time, we'll get to that later on in the show. So that and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Friday. We're glad you're joining us. We're just getting started. We come back. We'll update Tom Hoagie at the PGA Championship and the Summit League Trap Meet underway in Vermilion on a rainy Friday. Back after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody, on a rainy Friday morning. A couple of emails coming in our collision there video. First one, read this one quick. Dom, never should have happened. It's a lack of communication. Correa should have got out of the way. I think you saw it, though. He let up. If you see the video there, he's trying to stop, and Buxton's momentum carried into him. Like he really was trying to get out of the way, and just couldn't. You could see because Correa goes. I don't know if you guys can find the video to still it there. Correa straightens right up, trying to stop right before it happens, and then Buxton's momentum, he just couldn't. That was abrasive there at the very end of that. Again, I'll go back. I was always taught when I played that outfielders always have first priority on that. If you're moving forward, right, instead of backpedaling, you've got to. The outfielder always has priority on that one. It's hard to tell without actually speaking to the. Thanks, guys. I mean, you could see. I mean, right there, they're both going for the ball, but at the next, I think right after that, Correa tries to. You could see him right there. You see, he can hear. He can. I'm sure he can feel Buxton's presence there coming. And then the collision happened. That's tough. What I could have should on that, but that's a tough deal. Another email comes in. I want to make sure we get this out. This is a cool deal. The Roger Maris golf tournament, celebrity golf tournament, coming back. Just got announced, and that'll be about a month from now, middle of June. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell is going to be up here. That's a good get for the Roger Maris deal, which begins next month, June 20th, which I believe is a Friday, because that's the opening day, I believe, of the Red River Amateur Golf Tournament going on as well. So it's a big golf weekend then in Fargo and Moorhead. But, yeah, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell going to be up here this year for the Roger Maris tournament. A couple things I wanted to hit on before we break and get Cory Provus on. Yesterday was day one of the Summit League Track Championships down in Vermilion. The North Dakota State men and women have dominated this championship since NDSU got into the Summit League in 2008. They're expected to win on both sides again this year. They got off to a pretty dynamite start yesterday, winning 2 individual championships yesterday. Grace Emineth won in the long jump competition. This here was her final jump and ends up winning the championship on that jump there, going 19 feet and 6 inches on her final attempt. Bison swept the podium, by the way, going 1, 2, 3 in that event. That'll get you some points. Then Sam Roller here in the javelin uncorks that and wins the jav throw for North Dakota State, which they have been dominant in that. So much, though. Roller, by the way, throwing a lifetime best 228 feet for the win. Moved up to 6 all-time in school history with the throw. With that win by Sam Roller yesterday, the Bison now have won 13 consecutive titles in the javelin. That's unbelievable. No one else has won it. Going back now, my math's not great. So 2012 is the last time somebody other from NDSU in the Summit League Track Championship won the jav. That's amazing. That is domination in that event. NDSU went 1, 3, and 4 in that event on the men's side in the javelin. They currently are in second place on the men's side. They lead on the women's side after the first day. South Dakota is going to be their primary foe, I would imagine. UND had a really good day. UND won 2 individual events as well yesterday. I love watching this. I can't wait for next week when we've got the high school track championships, which will begin next Thursday on Plus. We'll have TV coverage a week from today on Extra out in Bismarck. But interested to see how this unfolds this weekend. But a good start for both NDSU and UND down in Vermilion on the opening day of Summit League Track. Last thing before we break. It was not a great day for our guy Tom Hoagie, and it's not really continued at the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. a course that he's played before. He likes. He's actually contended in this event when they've played it on the PGA Tour. Yesterday was not his day. The 16th hole, which we'll show you here, was pretty much typified his day. If he's dropping the golf club like that after a shot, it ain't good. And you can see where it ends up. It doesn't go in the water on the par 5, but if you're rolling up your pants and have to play golf, also not a good. That's a heck of a golf shot from where he was. That was his 4th shot. This was for a par, which he missed. He actually went out in 3. Oh, he actually got to 6 over par at one time yesterday on his round. He made an eagle at the 7th hole that actually saved his round. This was his approach at the 18th, which was pretty good, actually. He would have made par out of that, but opening round of 75, which was 4 over for the tournament, which got him tied for 120th. He's on the course already today. He's even par on the day, so he's moved up 13 spots, but he's 4 over through 8 holes. He's going to have to go really low to make the cut here. The top 70 and ties make it into the weekend. He did not have a great weekend last weekend at the Truist Championship outside of Philadelphia, but 1 bogey, 1 birdie so far through his first 8 holes. His best finish at the PGA was back in 2022, I want to say. He tied for 10th that year. He got a top 10 finish, but right now, the first couple days not been his day. Right now, the projected cut is 1 over. So he's got to get really high. He's got to make 4 birdies here out of his last 10 holes if he wants to play the weekend. That's maybe asking a lot right now. The leader, Jonathan Vegas, had a great round yesterday. Shot 7 under. He's at 6 under so far. Aaron Ryan Gerard at 5 under. Not really some household names. Max Homa is probably the one name you know. He's at 4 under par so far. That's an early update on the PGA Championship, which is in the early stages of round 2 going on in North Carolina. We'll break. We come back. Cory Provus will join us, give us an update on what's going on with Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, as the Twins go for a 12th straight win tonight in Milwaukee. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns right after this.
Deep to left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive. Left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
It is that time. Cory Provus joins us each and every Friday at 9:35. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. We appreciate their sponsorship of the show. Cory in Milwaukee as the Twins get set to open up a weekend 3-game series with the Brewers. You've got the trusty Twins media guide there. Every stat you need, right? I just saw you looking at that before we came on the air.
Yeah.
There it is.
So this, one of my, this is great. So I really appreciate, because not many teams still make these.
Right.
You know, these you don't, and I am a huge champion of please make them, because they are. I use it and I read it all the time. But one of my favorite sections is they separate opponents, and so with a team like Milwaukee, so I'm working on my scorecard right now and getting into some Chad Patrick information. The start of the Twins are going to see tonight, but I like looking at. I knew that we didn't win the season series with Milwaukee last year, but so I go to the Brewers page here, and it kind of gives the year-to-year results. And then I wanted to see, I know we went 1-3, but when was the last time that we won a series in Milwaukee? And so I just looked, and it was 2021. So, so I have this with me, and just like having little nuggets down to throw out there during the telecast.
How about the fact they listened to you and I and put the series on the weekend, huh? Let's go.
I mean, I love that baseball did this. I mean, thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
Great matchups all across the game this weekend, and their weekend series. Yes. Bravo. Well done. I like that it's later in the year, too. For some, school's out, some not so much, but still, it's a weekend. You can get there. And then the Brewers come to Target Field, a weekend series in June.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So I'm a big fan of this change.
All right, let's start with the elephant in the room of what happened in the third inning yesterday. And watching your broadcast yesterday, and I could hear you yell, "Look out, guys!" And It was nasty. Corey, we know any update yet on Byron and Correa?
Well, watching it live, I didn't think it was as bad. And then when I saw the replay, then I was able to, I think we all were, piece together why both guys were down. Because watching it live, I knew there was contact, but I couldn't tell if it was that impactful. But yeah, I mean, Byron's jaw, I'm surprised he didn't break his jaw.
Yeah.
Jaw, full steam, running in, back of Correa's shoulder. And then their heads did also make contact. And then Correa especially, you saw this awful whiplash with his head. So, yeah, they were both down. And I don't have an update. And, it looked like just seeing Byron, from what I heard in the clubhouse, he was moving around okay, better than Correa was post-game. So I'd be shocked. I mean, Byron also has a history of migraines.
Right, we talked about
there
that.
Was the Twins. Yeah. The Twins had that series in Puerto Rico. When was that? In 2016, I think it was. And Byron did not play because of migraines that just kind of popped up, and that's what kept him out of playing against Cleveland during that series in San Juan. And I don't know if that's what kind of impacted him after that collision or not yesterday. So he's had history of concussions, head injuries, and migraines. So I'd be surprised if we see either one, play this first game tonight.
That was my first thought, too, was when the concussion thing that I think Audra Martin reported during the game. Like, well, Byron's already had this. And you obviously you covered football forever as well, Corey, that anytime it happens, you're prevalent to happen again. That was the first thing I thought of with Byron's injury.
Yeah, I was surprised. And look, he finished the inning.
Yeah.
But then, and this is not knocking the medical staff. I mean, Byron checked out. They ran through that initial protocol that they do. But then we made sure to follow him in the dugout. And then we saw during the commercial break that he was walking down the steps with the head trainer, Nick Paparesta. And at that point, we knew that he was not going to come back into the game. So yeah, yesterday was a winning day for the team, but yeah, lost some key guys despite that win.
On that play, and I don't know if you and LaTroy talked about this on the broadcast, at least I was taught when I was playing that the outfielder always has priority on that because they're running forward rather than the infielder. Can you go through that a little bit on whose ball really it should be or is?
I mean, it's the center fielder's ball, but you have two alpha males.
Yeah.
Two alpha males, two guys that have platinum on their gloves, that believe every ball that they can get
is theirs.
They want to get. And so, in hindsight, yeah, you can look back at it and say, why is Correa out there so far? Because he's been out there before. He's made that play countless times. And I couldn't tell you if it felt like the wind was blowing more out than it was in yesterday. But, because of that, was Buxton playing deeper, and was there more ground to cover around a shallow fly ball? So is that why Correa went out? I just think it was just bad luck. It happens. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more in our game, right? And two guys that are really good at what they do, and it says so on their gloves.
Yeah.
And just two guys wanted to make a play, and sadly they collided.
And it takes away from what was another dynamite pitching effort from Chris Paddock, which is a guy that you and I talked about a month ago. That what's his tenure on the Twins going to be like if he can't keep pitching better, if he doesn't start pitching better? And he's been brilliant the last two times out.
Awesome. The Giants start last week was incredible, flirting with perfection in that one. And then he had the look about him, and I'm going to dig into this a bit more today when I get to the park. So it comes out yesterday, Dom, pitch count 89, 7 scoreless innings. He didn't look like he wanted to come out of that game. He's never thrown a complete game. And I'm going to try to find more intel about that today. I think the Orioles had the mid to the bottom part of their lineup coming up. So I get it. It was a 4-run game at that point. Varland, Duran, you're good to go. Bullpen's been great, but man, for Paddock, I'm sure he was hoping to get that chance to go back out. And I think for Paddock, there's so much motivation because he's an impending free agent. But also, what's the talk about the Twin staff, right? There's the top 3, and then there's the other 2. I think Paddock wants to be, hey, put me in with that group, that trio of Pablo, Joe Ryan, and Bailey Ober. I don't want it to be those 3 and then a separate tier. I want to be in that party as well. And he's been pitching like it, and give him credit. The work he put in this winter, he never stopped throwing for the first time in his career. And he's been great. And the starting pitching has been, the best in baseball for the last 35 games.
They did make a change in their starting rotation with Simeon Woods Richardson being sent back to St. Paul. Was that a eye-opening move, or how did you take that from what happened after Wednesday's doubleheader?
I think it was two parts. I think in terms of the doubleheader and needing another starter, I think that played a part. But I also think performance was a part of it as well. And for Sim, he's now given up 8 home runs, and 7 of the 8 are solo. At some point, that's going to catch up to you, and it did with Cedric Mullins hitting the grand slam. And, there are expected numbers in this game, and those are trends that players look at. Don't think it's just me and you and staff. Players look at that stuff too, the quality of contact, and the expected numbers against Sim were not favorable. And just inability to throw strikes and not striking out too many hitters. I just think it came to a head where, look, we've got some guys, and the performance, the ERA is over 5. He's been getting hit hard. He's not going deep into games. Now, is all that his fault? Some of that you can say, well, are they treating him like they did Joe Ryan and Bailey Over 3 or 4 years ago? The answer is probably yes. And over time, those guys have earned the right to pitch deeper into games. Sim isn't there yet. Now, what Sim can't do, and I don't think he will, he just can't go down to St. Paul and be like, all right, next time they need a guy, it's going to be me. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. There's guys down there, and we're going to find out here, because I think Zebby is supposed to pitch tonight for the Saints. And Dom, I haven't seen it yet, if he's still listed as the starter for St. Paul. If he's not, then that's our sign that Zebby's going to pitch here on Sunday. And that means Festa stays in St. Paul. But so even with Zebby, if that is the move, if he's up here with Festa and Andrew Morris and Marco Raya, there are guys there.
Yeah.
And Corey Lewis, there are guys there that he just can't, sit back and be like, all right, well, I'll get my turn again. He's going to have to still pitch, because I'm not saying he's going to get lapped, but there's depth in St. Paul, Dom, that the Twins haven't had in a long time.
Email comes in to ask you about Harrison Bader and Ty France. I know France got in the game yesterday, but any worry on what happened to them on Wednesday's games?
Yeah, I think France was only coming in an emergency role, and they were in an emergency role. Yeah. I mean, the Twins were running out of players. Heck, they were running out of trainers. We were joking on the plane last night that the massage therapist, Kelly, she might have had to go out there and take a look at a guy if he was down again. Man, but we saw that training staff, Nick and Jason and Massa, they got way too much TV time during the series in Baltimore. But yeah, I'm curious if Bader, because he was clearly down yesterday, he made it seem like it wasn't a big deal. Now, I did see Ty in the clubhouse before the game yesterday. He wasn't walking gingerly. He wasn't wearing a boot. He didn't have his foot wrapped or anything like that. So he was walking fine. My concern is the spot, the same area where he fractured his heel last year, because that changed his whole season. When he fouled that pitch off of his heel in June last year, that's when everything went south. So that was my concern. And the answer that I got yesterday is no, but he does have a hot spot in his foot from a previous injury when he was stepping and reaching for a base, and his foot landed awkwardly. And then the ball that he hit on Tuesday hit that hot spot. So that's kind of what has led him to be down for a couple of days. So we'll see. But, I keep checking my email to see if there's any roster move coming. But the Twins right now, they've got a pretty thin bench.
Any update on Matt Wallner?
He was rounding the bases. So he was picking up his running progression on the last homestand. But he's still a ways away. Okay. I think this is going to be more of a 2-month thing than I think anything else. So I've lost track now when it was, but it was clearly in April. So I still think he's maybe a month into it, right? Yep. Maybe a month.
It was April 17th is when he went on.
April 17th. So I think he's on that 6 to 8 week time frame. So in the meantime, though, Willie Castro's played a great corner outfield, and where would they be without him right now? He's he's looking like that all-star that he was last year. Again, Willie's a free agent end of the year, so this is a big year for him. But he's come up with some great moments. It's coming off the IL.
I'll add as well before we go to break, where would they be without Kobe Clemens right now either?
Yeah.
I mean, he's bailed them out too.
I mean, the Twins did not make a lot of sexy moves this winter, but the free agent moves they made, Danny Coulomb, Harrison Bader, Ty France, those have panned out beautifully. And then I think Jonah Bride, I think he's played a great third base. And Cody Clemens, man, I hope Roger's in attendance more often, because when Dad is there, this guy's hitting bombs that are turning games around late in these games. And I don't know if Roger and Cody said to Audrey, he said that it's more my mom than my dad. So I think they laughed that off as a family. But yeah, they these little moves that they've made, they didn't sound big, but yeah, give the front office credit, the coaching staff credit, the players, of course, they get the utmost credit. It's worked out really well.
We'll break. We come back. We'll preview the series with the Brewers and look at the super tough AL Central, because it's playing out. The Twins are on this win streak and really haven't gained any ground. Much more with Cory Provus. We come back and wrap up our first hour of Hot Mic on a Friday morning right after this. Here on this Friday morning, Cory Provus joining us. His appearance is brought to us by Weldon's Tire Service. Twins and Brewers coming up tonight, 7 o'clock in Milwaukee. I know anytime that you go back to Milwaukee, it's an emotional deal. Certainly will be, obviously, tonight for the first time being back since the late, great Bob Uecker passed away. And we were just visiting off air. You got something planned for the broadcast tonight.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative that I asked if I could start the show tonight with just kind of thank you and a tribute for my guy. And I'm gonna do my best not to lose it, but I'm gonna wear this tonight on my jacket. This was kind of what I was given when I missed that game against the White Sox. I was invited to the celebration of life for him, so I'm gonna spend some time just kind of thanking him. And this was a game. This was a series that I loved. Every year when the schedule came out, this was always the first one that I would go to. Because it was, Uke stopped traveling years ago, so it was my one chance to kind of see him, So we talked earlier about going to 3 games. It always felt like it was too fast. These 2-game trips that we had here, I just went too fast. So seeing him was always a highlight of my year, and being back here and walking, I'm going to go early today because I just want to make sure that I'm in a good state of mind and see how I'm doing. It's gonna be tough, but I knew it would happen, and I'm going to do my best to keep it together and honor my guy.
That's going to be awesome, and I'm glad that they're letting you do that tonight. We'll look forward to seeing that coming up on the broadcast. We mentioned this earlier, that it's quote-unquote rivalry weekend, which I was intrigued to see for some of the teams that don't have a natural rival, who they be matching, like Mariners Padres isn't necessarily a rivalry, but I appreciate the sentiment that they're doing this, that they're going to let these games happen on a weekend.
That's my favorite one. And you know what they're playing for? They have a trophy.
I didn't know. No.
The Mariners and Padres are playing for the Eddie Vedder Cup. I think that's
awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, Eddie, I'm a big Pearl Jam fan.
Yes.
Eddie from Chicago, but obviously Pearl Jam became famous in Seattle. Yeah. That's where the band got together. But Eddie was surfing in San Diego when the drummer for the band at the time, named Jack Irons, handed a cassette tape of these 4 or 5 songs that these guys from Seattle put together. They were looking for a singer. And some of the, Mike McCready and Jeff Amon, they knew Jack Irons, and they connected Jack to Eddie.
Wow.
So Eddie came up from San Diego and sang with the band, and the rest is history in 1990 or 91. And so they are playing for the Eddie Vedder Cup.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty awesome.
Give us the lowdown, what you know on the Brewers. And, I mean, we know typically really solid club, where they're at so far in 2025.
They've been hit hard by injury. Their starting staff has been decimated by injury. They were hoping to get Brandon Woodruff back for this series, but that's not going to happen. He's got coming back from a shoulder injury. Now he's got a bad ankle. But so their offense has been inconsistent. They did put up 9 runs on Wednesday in Cleveland to at least salvage one in that series. They're 2 games under 500, but what they do have is speed. They lead all of baseball in stolen bases. They stole 6 bases, not in a game, in an inning earlier this year. So this is going to be a focal point all weekend long. There is just a wealth of speed. They're just not relying on home runs because they haven't gotten a ton of home runs from Yelich and Hoskins and Contreras and Churio, but they're going to be moving. They're going to be up and down the bases, and it just can't put all the blame and the load on Jeffers and Vasquez. Pitchers, especially the bullpen guys, have to just be ready to mix things up, their timing, their moves, their looks, because so many of these Milwaukee guys are going to be taking 90 feet when possible.
Crazy thing when you win 11 in a row and don't move in the standings. I mean, look at the last 10 games. The Tigers are 8-2, Guardians are 6-4, Royals are 6-4. We talked about it when we first started this year that the Central is going to be good. Obviously, they may have 3 teams make the playoffs last year, but you kind of shake your head, Corey, like they can't make it up any ground.
Yeah, right now there would be 4 playoff teams from the division. If I saw it right last night, that the Twins would have the third and final wild card spot, that you'd have those 4 teams all in the playoffs. And you just can't say, oh, they're beating the White Sox. They're beating the White. If you're going to use that argument, then you better do the same in the West for Colorado.
Yeah, right.
And which doesn't come up, right? Yep. That doesn't come up. They just say, Ohtani's great. And he is. 2 homers yesterday. The Giants are good. Padres are good. But you can't just use that argument that over the White Sox. The Central is good. The Tigers have an awesome team. The Royals pitching is fantastic. Cleveland, somehow, some way, even though their offense doesn't knock your socks off, they find a way. They're really good in close games, as we have seen. And the Twins have turned their season around. They're doing it in a variety of ways. The pitching, the hitting's improved. And the bullpen right now is the best in baseball. Those were the projections about the Twins pen entering the year. And they've been performing in that way now here for a while. So, yeah, kudos to the division, because this is the time, that saying that you can't win the division in April, you can lose it. This is a year where you had to keep up.
Right.
Because you look at how well this division is playing. I don't think the Tigers are going to maintain this pace, but still, right now, they're the best team in the American League by far.
I was going to leave you with that. Is this sustainable for the whole division, you think, going forward?
No, because you're going to start playing each other. I mean, it's just it's going to come back, because I haven't studied it that much. I don't think that there's been many divisional games between these teams lately, right? I mean, the Twins have a big homestand next week. Seeing the Royals and seeing the Guardians on the upcoming homestand, that's significant. But yeah, so this will eventually even itself out to a point. But in the meantime, who's been the key for the Tigers has been Javi Baez.
Yeah,
Javi Baez,
really
that
good.
Contract has been a disaster, but man, the message to him was, we need you to play multiple positions. And he didn't mope, he didn't pout, said fine. And he's hitting walk-off bombs, good defense, come up with big swings. And H.A. Hinch is pressing all the right buttons right now. Scooble's going to win another Cy Young. It's a great team. It's a really good team. And then, I love Bobby Witt. I mean, watching Bobby Witt, I love that he's at Target Field next week. And hopefully Byron and Correa, if they're down a couple of days, fine. But then only a couple of days, if it's that, because then they'll need all their horses next week.
I have a sore spot for Javi Baez because the Mets gave up Pete Crow Armstrong for 2 months
PCA,
for 2 months of Javi Baez, and that didn't really work out well.
Yeah, that trade is doing gangbusters right now for the Cubs. He's awesome.
Really
he's one
good.
of the most exciting players in the game.
Every time I see him do something, like, man, he could have just great.
And how about his mom?
Right.
His mom is Wally Hollins, or I forgot the kid's name. Billy is Billy's mom.
Yes.
In Little Big
League. I didn't know that either. Wild. Have a great call tonight, bud. Thanks for doing this as always. We'll see you next Friday, okay?
All right, Dom. Take care, bud.
Cory Provus joins us each and every Friday. His appearance is brought to us by Welton's Tire Service. The Twins and the Brewers coming up tonight on Twins.tv. Tomorrow night's game is a Fox game. That's on National Fox. And then Sunday they're back for the matinee in Milwaukee to wrap up the weekend. We'll break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. You're going to meet one of the newest Bison transfers coming in. This one from James Madison. Antoine Booth. That's coming up. We start hour 2 of Hot Mike right after this.
This is Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll on this Friday morning. About a half hour, we'll be joined by Bison quarterback Cole Payton. Looking forward to that conversation as the offseason truly is now here for North Dakota State football. They have about 2 weeks of it, and then it's on to summer workouts, and then it's on to fall camp, and then we begin the season. As we joked yesterday, and I say joked in quotation marks, we are officially, now we're 99 days out from week 0, so 106 days out from the Bison opener at the Citadel. And we'll chat with Cole about that coming up in just a few minutes. We'll also give you an update coming up later on in the hour on former Bison standout, Devils Lake native Grant Nelson. Wrapped up his time at the NBA Combine over the last couple days in Chicago, his second trip there in 3 years, and to see where his draft stock is. The NBA draft a little more than a month away. And we'll give you the lowdown on that coming up in just a little bit. Yesterday, though, the construction of the 2025 Bison roster continued. We mentioned you met a couple of the transfers that are coming into NDSU over the last few weeks. Alex Elliott being one from Hutchinson, Minnesota. Chance Simon's guy they're getting out of Nebraska by way of Arizona State to play defensive end. They added the defensive tackle, Obald Narankuya, from where's he coming from? Iowa State, out of Iowa. And they added a defensive back yesterday. Antoine Booth is coming to North Dakota State by way of Baltimore, Maryland. Started his collegiate career at Michigan State, then transferred, spent the last 3 years at James Madison, and was in Fargo last weekend. And he announced yesterday that he's going to transfer and he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining to spend the final 2 years of his collegiate career at NDSU. I had a chance to visit with Antoine yesterday about how in the world did he get hooked up with NDSU and what he thinks he can bring to the Bison football roster.
I went through the 2024 season, like with James Madison and everything. I decided I was going to hit the portal after the season. So I pretty much, like I said, hit the portal. And then, I was in there for a couple of days, stuff like that. I had a couple offers, stuff like that. But it was, a lot of FCS schools, stuff like that. It was actually kind of crazy because I woke up, went to a little workout. And when I came back, I seen that text from Coach Johnson. And I was like, I was a little excited. I had my friends and teammates with me. I'm like, yo, this is North Dakota State, man. I'm ready to go home and see what they're talking about. So, I get on the phone with Coach Johnson and everything. He had already talked to my JMU coaches about me and everything and pretty much got that rapport. So he had said, he was excited to get me out there and everything and, meet the coaching staff and, meet some of the other people out there. And it was just all in all, just a blessing, man. Just nothing short of that.
Did you have a connection with Will before that or no?
Yeah. Me and Will actually got a lot of mutuals back in Baltimore, just on the training circuit, the DB circuit, coming up through high school and everything. We got a lot of the same mentors and just people we know. So yeah.
Your attention then your radar was off when he texted you then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was just I had knew it was one of those things. I had felt like I had been, especially being at Michigan State and coming to James Madison. I had already been at top programs and everything. So I feel like this was just about just getting us to a spot where where I fit for real and just the best spot for me.
What stood out to you when you got out here?
Really, just to be honest with you, just the hospitality of the people. I could tell as soon as I stepped on campus, I just felt like a championship atmosphere. I knew everybody here cares about football. Football is everything out in Fargo. So me just coming out there, meeting some of the coaches and everything, meeting some player personnel guys. Everybody just seems they love ball and they love NDSU football players, like I said. So, I feel especially this being my third school, I wanted to be at a spot where, I feel like I had, a good rapport with the coaching staff and everything, so I could, feel a little bit more comfortable just, just in everyday life on campus and everything,
Antoine, were they specific on what the kind of corner they were looking for? Did they get that specific with you or in depth with you about what kind of player they were looking for?
Oh, most definitely. You know, like when I had got up, I had met with the defensive coordinator, and like I said, other than Coach Johnson, I met with the D coordinator, the head coach. And, you know, they had, you know, pretty much went over me what they were looking for. Like, you know, they were saying they needed a guy to come in, you know, take away the X, you know, just come in, you know, just be a leader. Obviously, me being a grad guy, older, got some experience, you know, really just help the young guys as well, and you know, just have everybody under the same umbrella, so you know we can all perform as one, you know, on game day.
Did you get a chance to meet any of the current corners at all
Oh,
when
most
you were out
definitely,
here?
most definitely. I didn't get to meet all of them, but I did get to spend some time with Duffy. I know he was a starter for them last year, so you know he was pretty much kind of just laying the ropes down for me on how I was going to be and you know what to expect.
So leaving here, what was your impression? Like, were you impressed? Like, okay, if this comes about, this would be a spot I want to go to.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, I had just even me coming to JMU, being a Duke for you know the for the past 3 years. I know that we've had a rough history with NDSU ourselves. So you know, like I know that you know even leaving this program such as JMU, a strong foundation. I knew going out there like immediately as soon as I got off the plane, you know, all you see is North Dakota State out there. Like it's big in NDSU out there. So like you know, once my experience was just beautiful out there. Like even from you know just really just how you know, just how the coaches would treat me and everything, just talking and having conversation and just being real and transparent. You know, I feel like, you know, that was something that I was really like looking for in my process and they gave it to me. So, you know, I owe them.
What was their reaction when you called and say, hey, I want to come?
Oh man, it was just pure excitement. You know, I could kind of feel. I know that they could kind of feel the anticipation and everything, but you know, I didn't want to make a decision, you know, too fast. You know, after land, you know, I want to kind of get down, you know, discuss with my parents and you know my family and just you know go over, you know, kind of like the pros and cons, you know, like what you know going away. I know like Fargo's a little far from Baltimore, you know, it's about 20 hours away, but you know, I feel like that won't be a problem because I feel like that same family vibe in Maryland that I do there. So you know, it's gonna be good.
How would you describe yourself as a player? What if you were to describe yourself playing corner? What's the best way to do that?
Well, I say, you know, me already not being the biggest guy, I feel like my mentality has kind of like carried me to where I am today. You know, knowing that like I'm not like a big 6 foot plus 200 pound guy, but I feel like, you know, my mentality on the field speaks for itself and the film that I do have. So, you know, like I said, I just feel like I just bring a certain level of confidence and bravado to the DB room. And, you know, it's gonna be a show this season for sure.
How eager are you to play? It's just to get out and just get on the field.
Oh man, like I said, I had just been dealing with some injuries earlier in college and stuff like that, man, and you know, getting a good taste of what I could do last year. I feel like you know, if I get on the field, man, I can go ahead and you know be a major game changer, for NDSU without a doubt.
So did I read right? Do you have 2 years of
Yes,
eligibility or one?
yes, sir, I got 2 years.
Okay. So describe this being a chance to hit a perfect spot maybe to finish out your college career.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I just feel like, you know, even just I know I'm saying this a lot, but you know, like I said, when I had just walked into the building, just from like, you know, how, you know, the nutritionists, you know, went about business to the strength coaches, you know, to the football coaches, to just everybody around the business, around the building, I could tell that everybody meant business and that like, you know, everybody's a part of the winning culture and that everybody's bought in. So I feel like, you know, that's something I definitely want to be a part of, being that I am still trying to pursue my dream of being an NFL player. So, you know, yes, sir.
What was the reaction with your teammates about going to NDSU, being at James
Oh
Madison, coming
yeah,
out this way?
it was actually pretty funny. I'm actually happy you asked that. It was actually pretty funny. You know, some of the guys, you know, were obviously happy for me and stuff like that. But you know, some of them was like, "Oh man, like you going to the ops, man? Like it's crazy." Like, but you know, life is life, man. It's crazy, but you know, it's just a great opportunity for me, you know, to just walk into this new chapter in my life, man. I'm actually, you know, really excited. So you know. Yeah.
And for fans out here, Antoine, they know Coach Johnson a little bit. Can you give a little background on just how big a name he is, or just how well regarded he is in football, in your opinion?
Oh man, like I can tell you, like he's definitely like one of the guys that if you're a young dude aspiring to you know be an NFL player, just anything, just be anything in life, bro. Coach Johnson's such a real rounded dude, man. Like I feel like you know, his like area for football, like I said, like his tenure for football and everything is just like it's out of this world, man. Because you know he's just a guy that's just gonna be authentic with you. You know he's not gonna sugarcoat anything, and he's actually one of them coaches that you know. I feel he wants the best for me, you know, and just like others around, you know, other people around feel that, you know, people at home, you know, we called and asked and inquired about each other, you know, just through, various mutuals and stuff like that. And everybody's pretty much had the same, said the same thing. Just a great dude, man. And like I said, you know, I'm just eager to work with him, and I know that it's gonna be some magic that comes this fall.
There's our conversation I had with new Bison corner Antoine Booth, 5'11", 172 pounds. He's only played 7 games over the last 3 years. He redshirted at Michigan State in 2021, transferred to JMU, played 1 game in the 22 season, didn't play at all in 23 as battling injury, and got in 6 games last year with the Dukes. And again, there's a thought out there. I don't know if it's wrong or not. I believe I got to find the exact quote on this, that there's a pretty prominent college coach said about the players that are available in the portal now are not good, I guess is maybe the best way to describe it. And you can take that however you want. Here it is. Brett McMurphy reporting this. This is from ACC spring meetings. He said a couple of ACC coaches summing up available players in the transfer portal. It's full of trash right now. There's no one worth adding. Now, that's at that level. I can tell you at the FCS level, they're looking for guys as well. After their rosters got raided for the better part of the last month. If you look at the cornerback spot for NDSU heading into 2025, they graduated 1 guy, starter, Marcus Shepard, who himself was a transfer, came in from Bowling Green and became a 2-year starter for the Bison. Was a solid player. Was a solid player at that spot. And started opposite of Jalen Duffy, who you heard Antoine mention. Duffy started double-digit amount of games. Gosh, sorry I don't have that number right in front of me. I should. And Duffy became a pretty solid player at that. He battled injury a majority of last season as well, whether it was a thumb injury, he had a concussion that he dealt with, that he was in and out of the lineup for a good majority of last season. Let me look here quick. Jalen, yeah, he played 12 games. He made 8 starts. So the Bison played 16 games, so he missed 4 last season. Anthony Shadime Alfaro is back, a fellow transfer as well, who came in last year from Cornell. He missed 2 games, did Anthony. He made 8 starts. Jaquise Alexander is back. Jaquise played in 11 games last season. He dealt with injury and, frankly, was benched as well. That's the corners that are back that have playing time experience. That's it. Najee Nelson is back. Najee hasn't played in 2 years. He did not play at all this past season. He was out all of spring ball. Don't know what his status is. Will Rosenmeyer is a redshirt freshman, so he hasn't hit the field yet. Keegan Huber is a 4th-year junior who's barely played, hasn't played a lot. And then Will Washington is a redshirt freshman who they like a lot. Will played last year. Actually, I believe he played 6 games. He played 3 regular season games and 3 in the postseason. Young man from Apple Valley High School that they have high hopes for. Big too, 6'1", 200 pounds. It's a big corner. That maybe can get into the rotation this year. It's a guy we kept our eyes on as well during spring ball. But that's where the Bison cornerback situation is. Now, they added a couple players here, obviously, through the incoming class, which, again, that's maybe a spot you can play as a freshman. They did add a transfer out of Air Force at safety in Jalen Archibald, who could play corner. He made a couple of plays in the showcase, in the Green and Gold showcase to wrap up spring ball. Right now, NDSU has amazing depth at safety. Think about it, where they have Jones, Crumby, Givens, Hudson Arts has played, and they really like 2 young guys there. It's Thielen Edey and Will Stile. You heard Grant Olson talk about them on Monday's show, that's 2 guys that are going to get on the field. So maybe you have some flexibility with Jalen Archibald, maybe to get him over to corner. That's a spot, though, once we get to fall camp to keep our eyes on. But can Antoine Booth come in and help? Maybe. That's what all the guys that they've added are depth guys. These are not guys, and I'll reiterate again, that are coming in to start. Not at this moment. Olsen, go back and watch our interview on Monday. I asked him that specific question. Those are guys that they're bringing in that they think can help, maybe not necessarily start, maybe in a pit. We'll see. see how the competition goes once we get to fall camp. You can read much more on Antoine. It's available right now at Inforum.com. We're overdue for a break. We'll take one now. We get caught up. We'll get you updated on what Grant Nelson's exploits at the Combine. We got a couple emails coming in as well. Friday morning, rainy Friday continues right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Raindrops coming down. It's not supposed to be nice. Just heck of a way for Wheel to wrap up his television career. Tell us about how nasty it's going to be for the next couple days after how warm it was. But fitting, we have some active weather for Wheel's final newscast tonight, 6 o'clock on WDAY. I got an email yesterday after the show wrapped up. Hey, Dom, any update on Grant Nelson? The NBA Draft Combine wrapped up yesterday in Chicago. The Devils Lake standout, former Bison, former Alabama Crimson Tide, was invited for the second time in 3 years. This is not as well, notoriety is certainly not there what the NFL Combine has in Indianapolis. They hold this in Chicago every year. They invite but basically the top 60 or so draft prospects there to play a couple. And here's the different part about why the basketball one is infinitely better than the football one, because they actually play basketball. They're on the court. So you can see what they're doing. Like, as much as we love the football one with the shuttle drill and the 40 and whatever else they do, in basketball, they're actually out there playing, so we could see what Grant could do. And he was amazing in the shuttle run. He may have set the fastest time there on Tuesday. On the actual court, you got to experience pretty much the Nelson effect there. He scored 9 points in their game yesterday, got to the rim at a couple of dunks. As we sit here now, by most of the NBA draft projections that I look at, he is not projected to be in the top 60 picks. And that's all there is. There's 60 picks in the NBA draft. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but as we sit here now, I'm reading a couple from the NBA insiders on this on ESPN.com, and they had a few guys that had a big weekend. Ryan Nebhart is one, Gonzaga's point guard, who we've seen him play over the last couple of years. Grant's going to get a shot. It's just a matter of where it's going to come. I believe that. I think there's enough that he's done on tape, whether his time at NDSU or the last couple of years at Alabama, that are going to warrant him getting some consideration from the NBA executives. Whether that's a draft, that's tough. There's only 60 picks on that. I'm just looking at Jonathan Gavoni, who's a great NBA draft insider. His latest mock, which now since we know the lottery, as that was determined that the Mavericks won that on Monday night, and we know where Cooper Flagg is going to go. He does not have Grant in his top. There's 59 picks this year. I believe one team forfeited a pick because they did something against the rules. So can that change? Potentially. He's going to get plenty of workouts between now and the end of June. Do I think he's going to be on an NBA roster next year? That's tough. I think he's going to get a shot if it's the G League or whatever, because Jackson Money's going to get a shot. We haven't talked about that. Jackson was invited to the G League invite that happened 2 days before the Combine, and he's still coming back from his broken wrist that was suffered at the end of the Bison basketball season. I think Jackson's going to get a shot as well. So we'll see how this plays out over the next month or so. Sometimes that momentum can build through workouts, and then before you know it, guy gets maybe picked at the end of the second round. You know, I go back, John Conchar, and basketball fans around the area remember him from Fort Wayne, who was a really good player. Got picked, I think, at the end of the second round. He's turned into a really, really good pro playing for Memphis. That's a kind of you want to emulate that kind of road. I think Grant's always his bugaboo was about his ability to shoot the three, that it needed to get better. And, I mean, you put a highlight tape of him together, it starts with 2 dunks. The one he had here against the Jackrabbits and the one he had against Connecticut in the national championship game. You look at that wow factor, and then you put on the tape against North Carolina in the Sweet 16 a couple years ago. And that's it. He had a couple of highlight windmill dunks here that will probably be included as well. But it's not all about that. They got to see some more substance than just the flash. So we'll see. But I got an email on that. I want to make sure we mentioned it before we wrapped up the show here for the week. We'll break. When we come back, we'll chat with QB1, Cole Payton, North Dakota State senior quarterback, on wrapping up the year, getting ready for a little bit of off-season, and then back to work to get ready for the 2025 Bison football year. That's coming up. Final half hour of the show. Final half hour of the week after this. Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning show, final half hour of the week. You can see it's gloomy here. Our next guest already got out of Dodge because it is sunny. It looks beautiful back home for QB1, Cole Payton, North Dakota State senior quarterback. Say that now as I feel like an old man as he get ready for his 5th year at NDSU. Joined. Look at this. You got the sun here. You missed out, bud. We got like 45 degrees and overcast, man, for the next few days. So I'm sure you're upset about that.
No, thanks for having me, Dom. Excited to be back for a little bit.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that because for fans that don't know, Cole, this is it, right? You get about 2 weeks and then it's right back to work, right?
Correct. Yeah, we report the day after Memorial Day, and so we're right back to it with conditioning and lifting, and Coach Kramer and Coach Knapp getting us right like they always do, and so. Yeah, just back home here for a minute, enjoying some quality family time.
This is literally you can't even count like Christmas time because you guys are playing normally through the holiday break. You might get a couple, but this is the longest stretch that you're not around the team or at least around Kramer and Napoli, right?
Correct. Correct. Yeah. It's usually, assuming we make it all the way to the national championship, this would be our longest break. So
I know for some they had a chance to watch the showcase of about a month ago now. You look great out there. For fans that didn't get a sense, or give us ever an update on how you're feeling and when did you start to feel 100% after the surgery?
Yeah, I would say like 3 to 4 months in, I started feeling pretty good. Close to 100%. Obviously, going into spring ball, it was around that time where I was feeling really good, and the only restriction I had was no contact, and so I was able to participate in spring ball and take reps like it was any other spring ball and compete and help lead this team like it was any other spring ball, and so that was really nice, and that's a big reason why I wanted to get the surgery when I got it, is to be here for the team throughout spring ball and competing.
I think the question I got asked the most during spring ball was, why is Cole wearing a purple jersey? Can you give us the origin of the purple jersey?
Yeah. So obviously, the quarterbacks typically wear red to avoid getting hit, and because I wasn't fully cleared yet, Coach Polasek wanted to put me in a purple jersey just to stand out even more than the red one. And so it was kind of funny because it looked like I was in a Vikings uniform of sorts, and Coach Polasek is a big Packer guy. So I think Coach Larson actually was telling me Coach Olson, Gio came up with the purple idea. And I'm sure that was just to poke at Coach Polasek.
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense now when you say that.
Yeah. So I need to ask Gio about that. But that's what Larson was telling me.
What did it feel like to be back out there? You and I talked after you got hurt that this obviously was the first major injury you've ever had. Just Was there any, not hesitation, any trepidation about being back out on the football field this past spring?
No, it was really just excitement and gratitude. I mean, it sucks not being out on the field with the guys, and you kind of feel a little secluded as like when you're going through a big injury and you're just kind of living in the training room and missing that practice time. It sucks, and so it was just a blast to get out there again and compete and lead the guys. So
what stood out, Cole, from the spring on offense? They said, okay, everybody knows what you have at wide receiver. Maybe is there a couple other spots that you looked at like, okay, we're gonna be okay at this position?
I want to shout out a couple of position groups. Obviously, you mentioned the wide receivers, and we don't need to get into that. But we obviously lost Marty Brown, unfortunately, to the transfer portal. But we have a really good running back room, and in Barika Penu and Owen Johnson, and then you see like Miles Mitchell stepping up as an early enrollee. He's 18 or 19 years old, and so. And then obviously picking up a running back transfer. And so I think we'll stay solid there despite losing Marty. And then another guy that really stood out this spring is Donovan Woolen, in my opinion. Just his length and explosiveness. And he's going to be a beast for us. And, I mean, our linebacking core has always been solid. But, no, those position groups definitely stand out to me this spring.
You just mentioned two guys, Donovan and Miles, both early enrolled. If you had go back, would you have done – if you had that opportunity, would you have taken that if you had a good chance to go back?
I don't think so. Yep. No, I mean, I was always a big baseball guy, and I can't remember who I was talking to, but I wanted to just kind of enjoy my last semester of high school and play another season of baseball and just kind of soak it all up because it flies by.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I'm already in my 5th year of college. I'm going to be 23 years old this year, so it's pretty crazy. But no, I don't. If I could go back, I would do the same. It's
interesting because you make a great point on that. I wouldn't trade it either. Like, I didn't do anything athletics, but my last few months of being a senior, either in high school or college, man, that was great. That'd be tough to pass up. I get why you get a head start, and you went through it. Xander Smith is doing the same thing in your own quarterback room, and you and I were talking during this. He looks like, by the way, he's 33, but he's the youngest guy in the room.
Yeah, his big beard just makes us look like babies, but he's actually the baby in the room, which is hilarious.
I have to ask, you mentioned a couple of portal additions. How much for yourself or guys on the team, and I know I'm asking you to speak for 100 guys, do you pay attention to the guys that are coming in, that they're adding late after spring ball wraps up, or is that something, hey, I'll meet them when they get here?
I got the chance to meet DJ out of Kennesaw State, and that was just when he was on a visit when we were still in the middle of spring ball. But these other guys I'm excited to get to know here in a couple weeks. But I've only met DJ so far, which he's a good kid, and I've heard good things about him. So
you've always had leadership tendencies. It's inherent with the quarterback. Does it feel different now being looked upon as that, likely probably going to be a captain of this team when that comes around this fall, that is going to be a different moniker next to your name? How do you handle that? How do you feel about that heading for this upcoming year?
I'm super excited about that part of it. I feel like I did a good job of stepping up as a leader this winter throughout the workouts, and then when spring ball started, like as you said, it's just you have to be that guy that people look to if you're playing quarterback, and so it comes with the position. And I learned so much from Cam when it came to leadership, and I had conversations with Gray Zabel about leadership, and we obviously lost not only those two guys, but that whole class, and then those 6-year guys that we had that were captains, like Eli Mostart and Luke Wirtz and Dylan Hendricks, and so when it comes to leadership, we did lose quite a few guys, and so I just I was ready to kind of take over that role and help lead not only the offense but the team, and so super excited about that opportunity.
Did you have a chance to talk to Cam after the draft? Have you had a chance just to visit with him briefly after being drafted by the Raiders?
Yeah, we got to exchange some texts, and I'm just super happy for him. And he was grateful and super excited for his opportunity. And I haven't got the chance to get him on the phone, but we just exchanged some texts, which is pretty cool. But super stoked for him.
You have a big weekend back home as well. You got a quarterback camp going on with a couple other pretty decent guys that play quarterback in the state of Nebraska. Give us the lowdown. What's going on? What are you doing this weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, myself, my quarterback coach back home here, John Tegland, and then Zane Flores, who's from Omaha. He's a quarterback at Oklahoma State, and Nate Glantz from Omaha, who's a quarterback at Lindenwood University. We're helping coach this youth and high school quarterback camp. So we've got this 4th through 8th graders in the early afternoon on Saturday and Sunday, and then and then after that it's the high schoolers. And so we've got a big group. Excited to coach up some, just give back and coach up some younger quarterbacks. And so, Nebraska, I've always said Nebraska high school football is slept on. And so there's going to be a good group of quarterbacks showcasing their talents, and it's going to be fun getting to coach them.
Well, 2 things on that. First, how many times that you just listed 3 guys who are all playing Division I football, not at Nebraska. When you're back home, how many people give you a hard, like, hey, the Huskers didn't go on any of those guys?
Yeah, I guess not. They're lost, though.
No doubt about it.
They're lost.
What is it like to be able to give back, to do that? I know Easton Stick and I have talked about it when he got to meet you when you were, I think, a junior in high school coming up. Now you're on the other end of this. What does that mean to you?
It means so much. You don't really realize it, like when you're in this position. But like looking back, for example, when I got to meet Easton as a high schooler, or just growing up and being coached by these great coaches, you really look up to them, and so, I mean, it's the least I could do is give back. Like I said, so many coaches have had a really positive impact on me, and is the main reason why I want to give back. And I've thought about coaching football before. We'll see what happens from that aspect, but no, it feels good, and yeah, super lucky.
I got an email. I don't know how much you ask about, because another Omaha guy's coming to your roster this coming year, and Elijah Wayne, to ask Cole, what do we know about Elijah? How good of a football player is he? And he was on my show when he signed. He's a big dude.
Yeah, no, he's a big dude. Excited to have him, and like I said, just let's keep this Omaha pipeline, this Nebraska pipeline going for NDSU football. We still have so myself and then Jackson Williams. Unfortunately, no Marty Brown, but we just got to keep it going. I know Coach Polasek he's probably out of town now, but yesterday he was in Omaha doing some recruiting.
Yeah,
and we gotta keep the train going. So excited to have Elijah, but yeah.
It's great to see you, man. Thanks so much for doing this. Have a great time at the camp. Enjoy a couple weeks off, and look forward to seeing you back up here soon, okay?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Say hi to your parents for me, too, all right, bud? Good to see you, man. There he goes.
Yeah, good to see you.
Cole Payton, senior quarterback, North Dakota State. He'll be the guy, and we'll talk plenty with Cole, obviously, as we get through the offseason. Wanted to visit with him about wrapping up the year and just hammering home the fact that these guys go through the entire year. This is their only break they get, and then it's right back on the horse to get ready for the upcoming year. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll wrap things up and get you ready for a busy sporting weekend. That's coming up when Hot Mike wraps right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. Big night tonight, of course, for all of us here at WDAY with Wheel signing off. Make sure you watch our news. Join us tonight at 6 o'clock for a really special newscast. I know Dana and Kirsten have been working along with our producers upstairs to have a great send-off for Wheel. Now, I don't know if we're going to break him. That's the big question. I was already getting emotional thinking about it when he was here in studio. He's meant a lot to me personally and professionally, and to a ton of people. He's their guy, and it's going to be quite the deal. That's coming up tonight at 6 o'clock here on WDAY. Couple emails to get to before we wrap things up and get out of here for the weekend. This is going back to our Grant Nelson conversation. Don, no matter what happens with Nelson's basketball career from here on out, his choice to leave NDSU was a roaring success. He played at the highest level, deep runs into the tournament, and with NIL, he has at minimum a large down payment on a home. Not bad to start your life as a new college graduate. A+. That's our email winner of the day right there. It's exactly right. Exactly right. Grant went, made a sizable amount of money at Alabama. He challenged himself at the highest level, played in the SEC, made it all the way to the national championship game with Alabama, starred in the NCAA tournament in a couple games, got to play against Cooper Flagg this year in the NCAA tournament. Alabama lost to Duke in the Elite Eight. That's about as much as you can ask for, man. That was pretty darn good. And as the emailer said, got a down payment due on a home. He's doing all right for himself. And no matter what happens, I would hope, and I didn't necessarily get a lot of vitriol on Bison fans when Grant decided to go. I think they understood it. And if they didn't, I hope they understand it now of why he decided to go and do what he did. That paid off in spades, no doubt about that. I got another email, and I appreciate this reminder because I saw this tweet actually earlier in the week, and we knew about the game, but now it is confirmed. This is from Alex Rosinski, who does a great job covering all sorts of non-conference college basketball schedule announcements, which that's right up my alley. Love that stuff. Don't ask me why. I just do. He put out this tweet that North Dakota State will host Southern Illinois. That game will be on Monday, November the 17th. So the Bison and the Salukis. We knew this game was happening. NDSU has played in Carbondale each of the last 2 years. This is the final game of a 3-game series. And so we know at least that's the first Bison date we have for the 25-26 season in Fargo at the Shack on Monday night, November the 17th, Bison SIU. That'll be good. That's a good game. I hope we get some people in the seats. I've complained plenty, and so many others have as well, about the non-conference. Well, who's coming in Crookston and Jamestown? And no, that's a Missouri Valley team coming to Fargo. They don't travel in the Summit League. Let's get some butts in the seats. That's coming up. Put it on your calendar now, folks. Monday, November the 17th for the Bison and the Egyptian Dogs. NDSU actually plays Southern Illinois in football in Fargo as well, so they're going to be coming up twice in about a month span. It's that time before we wrap up the show. We do it each and every day. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. It's sponsored each and every day by Northwestern Mutual. We got Twins coming up as they open up their set with the Brewers. 7 o'clock tonight on Twins.tv. We mentioned Joe Ryan against Chad Patrick will be the starters for that one as the Twins go for a 12th straight win. As we sit here now at 10:56, we've got no update on the injured Twins in Correa and Buxton. If no news now, I would tend to think that they're heading for the injured list. If they were good to go, I think we would have known by now that they were going to be okay to play. We don't have that information yet. That tends not to be great news there. Sometimes no news isn't good news on that front. Celtics-Knicks, 7 o'clock tonight, ESPN, Game 6. The Knicks win. They go to the Eastern Conference Finals and play the Pacers. The Celtics win. We get a Game 7 on Monday. Going to be an unreal atmosphere in Madison Square Garden tonight. Looking forward to watching that tonight, ESPN, 7 o'clock. And Game 6 in the NHL, Maple Leafs and the Panthers, 7 o'clock on TNT. Florida leads that series 3-2. Toronto's been shut out each of the last 2 games. They're trying to force a Game 7 there. We got to roll. Thanks to our guests today, to Cole Payton, to Antoine Booth, and to Cory Provus. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. Watch a full replay on WDAY+. Congrats to Wheel. Enjoy it, my man. Everybody have a great weekend. Hopefully enjoy some of the weather. We'll see you back here on Monday.